It was the kind of morning where silence spoke louder than words. Father's Day. I was 62, still wore the same flannel robe I'd had since the 90s, and sat nursing a cup of black coffee at the kitchen table, waiting for something, anything, to make the day feel different. The sun came in sharp slats through the blinds, laying gold lines across the floor like prison bars. The only sound was the low hum of the fridge and the occasional shift of Martha's slippers as she paced behind me. Then came the delivery truck. I didn't even hear it at first. Just saw Martha stiffen as she peered out the kitchen window, her lips tightening like they always did when she smelled trouble. "Someone just dropped a box," she said, her voice carrying that edge she used for bad omens and stray dogs. I rose, joints protesting with every step, and opened the front door. There it sat. Square. Plain. Taped clean. A single label slapped across the top, typed in bold print, "Happy Father's Day, Dad." My throat tightened. Lucy. She was the only one who still called me Dad in that steady, deliberate way that made me feel like I still mattered. We hadn't seen each other in over a year. She lived 3 states over now, working homicide and living off black coffee and adrenaline. But she never forgot Father's Day. Not once. I brought the package inside, placed it gently on the table. Martha hovered, her eyes fixed on it like it might bite. "Why didn't she call first?" she asked. "Feels strange." "She's busy," I said, but I felt the same thing she did, a wrongness, subtle but real. I peeled the tape back. One corner. Then the other. Under the first flap was a layer of soft, gray packing paper. I pulled it aside and saw the black velvet box beneath. My breath hitched. It wasn't a gift-wrapped trinket. This box had weight to it. Serious weight. The kind of box that held things people didn't forget about easily. I opened it. And there it was. A pistol. Sleek. Black. Cold even in the warm kitchen air. A compact Sig Sauer, polished so clean I could see my stunned face reflected in the slide. "What the hell?" Martha whispered. I couldn't speak. My fingers moved before my brain caught up, lifting the gun carefully from its resting place. My thumb hovered near the safety. There was something tucked beneath it, an envelope. Before I could open it, 3 hard knocks rattled the door. Then it exploded inward. "Police!" Hands in the air. Martha screamed. I turned, half rising, the pistol still in my hand. Red dots instantly bloomed across my chest. In a blur, 4 officers swarmed into the kitchen, one of them grabbing Martha and pulling her away, the others zeroing in on me. "Drop the weapon." I did. It hit the tile with a crack that echoed in my skull. They cuffed me fast, shoved my face to the floor while shouting things I couldn't hear over the pounding in my chest. All I could see was the gun lying on the linoleum, a quiet, deadly stranger that had just turned my life inside out. "Frank Ryman, you are under arrest for the murder of Deirdre Lane." I blinked. "What?" But they weren't interested in my confusion. One of them yanked me to my feet. My wrists burned in the cuffs. Martha stood frozen, hands to her mouth, eyes wide and glossy with fear. They read me my rights, marched me out of my house, past the garden Lucy helped me plant when she was 9, past the old red truck I'd rebuilt twice already, and shoved me into the back of a squad car like a man who no longer belonged to his own life. The cruiser pulled away. I turned my head, trying to breathe, but all I could think about was that name, Deirdre Lane. A ghost from another life. I hadn't heard that name in over 30 years. And now it was going to bury me. The ride to the precinct felt like falling without ever hitting bottom. No one spoke. Not the officer driving, not the one beside him, and certainly not me, cuffed, silent, and sweating in the back seat like a man already halfway buried. The hum of the road, the occasional bump of a pothole, the way the radio crackled and fell quiet again, it was all background noise to the one question pounding in my skull, Deirdre Lane. How the hell is this happening? They pulled me into a small, stale interrogation room like I was just another number in the system. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The kind of place where truth felt slippery and lies were just paperwork. The cuffs came off, but the weight around my wrists stayed. 2 detectives entered. One wore a cheap blue suit and had a face like he'd chewed nails for breakfast. The other was younger, sharper, maybe even smarter, but his eyes carried the same assumption. That I was guilty. They sat across from me, a folder between them. "We've got a lot to go over, Mr. Ryman," the older one said, cracking the file open like he was unwrapping a present. "But I'll start with the easy part. You know Deirdre Lane?" I blinked. "Vaguely," I said. "We weren't close. Not for a long time." "Define not for a long time." 35 years. Maybe more. They exchanged a glance like I'd said something rehearsed. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. "She was someone I met on the road. Back when I was driving long haul. We had a thing. A few weeks. That's it." "Funny," the younger detective said, "because her body was found with a bullet in it from a .380 caliber Sig Sauer, same make, model, and serial number as the one delivered to your house this morning." He slid a glossy photo across the table. There she was. Deirdre. Gray-faced. Eyes closed. A single, neat hole above her left brow. My stomach twisted. "That's not possible," I whispered. "Possible or not," he said, "that's what forensics says. Ballistics match. Serial number traces back to a shipment reported missing out of a warehouse in Chicago, 15 years ago. Guess what showed up today? Registered under no name. Delivered to your porch. And your fingerprints are on it." I shook my head slowly. "I didn't buy that gun. I didn't kill her. I haven't seen her in decades." The older one leaned in. "That's gonna be tough to prove, Frank. Because right now, all the proof says otherwise." I could feel the walls closing in. They started listing everything. The place her body was found, some stretch of trees off Route 77, where old rigs rust and cops rarely patrol. A remote spot, hard to find unless you knew it. And apparently, I did know it. "Your company runs that route," the young one said, flipping pages. "You logged hours on that highway 2 weeks before the body was found. Same week she went missing." "It's a major freight corridor," I said. "Half the damn trucking industry uses it." "But only one trucker has a past with the victim," he replied. "Only one got a gun sent to his house with matching ballistics. Only one had his prints on it." "I told you," I said, my voice rising now, the fear boiling over into anger. "I didn't kill her. I barely remember her. I don't even know how she died. She was shot once." "Close range," said the older one, cold and flat. "No signs of robbery. No sexual assault. No struggle. Just a single shot, clean. Professional. Precise." I swallowed hard. "I'm not a professional anything." "You sure?" he asked. "Because this feels damn near surgical." They stared at me like they were daring me to confess. Like if they waited long enough, I'd break just to fill the silence. I didn't. Eventually, they stood. "We'll be back," the younger one said. "Try to remember something useful by then." When they left, I slumped in the chair, my hands shaking. I had no idea how this was happening, but I knew I was being framed. There was no other explanation. The gun. The delivery. The perfect match. It was too neat. Too clean. Someone wanted me buried. And that's when the door flew open again. Lucy. She came in like a hurricane in a black leather coat and fire in her eyes. Her badge swung from her hip, and the moment she saw me, her whole face cracked, not in fear, but fury. "Dad," she said, her voice low and tight. "What the hell is going on?" I tried to speak, but my throat had turned to gravel. She sat across from me, took my hands. "They said you're being charged with murder." "Deirdre Lane." I nodded. "I haven't seen her in 30 years. They say the gun was sent to your house." "It was. I opened it this morning." "Who sent it?" I blinked. "The label said, 'Happy Father's Day, Dad.' I thought it was from you." Her jaw tensed. "It wasn't." She stood, pacing. "They showed me the ballistics. It's a match. And your prints are on the grip. I touched it when I opened the box. I didn't know what was inside." Lucy stopped pacing. "Somebody is setting you up." "I know," I said. "But they're not listening." She stared at me, then nodded slowly. "They will. I'm staying here. I'm pulling the case files. I don't care how far I have to dig, I'll find who did this." I wanted to tell her not to. I wanted to say it wasn't worth it. But I didn't. Because the truth was, she was the only one I trusted. And maybe, just maybe, she was the only one who could save me. Jail isn't loud the way movies make it seem. It's quiet, mostly. Not silence exactly, but a layered hush filled with low coughs, shuffling feet, and the occasional clang of metal that makes your skin tighten every time. There's a stillness to it that presses against your chest, like the air's too thick to breathe right. I'd been in holding for nearly 18 hours by the time they let me make a second call. Lucy answered on the first ring. "They're not charging you formally yet," she said. "The DA's office is reviewing while the lab confirms the timeline, but they're going to if I can't break the narrative fast." "They really think I shot her?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just the faint rustle of paper on her end, maybe her notes. "Then, they don't think it. They know it. The evidence is too neat, Dad. Like someone tied a bow on it and dropped it on their desk." "Then we find the person who did," I said. I already started. When Lucy said she was starting, it didn't mean she was flipping through a few folders. It meant full force, no sleep, detective mode. I'd seen that switch flip in her back in high school, when her debate coach said she wasn't aggressive enough. She won state 3 weeks later, left the judge speechless, and made the boy she beat cry in the parking lot. I hung up and waited. Lucy dug in. The first person she talked to was Roy Halpern, my business partner for the past 18 years. Roy and I built our trucking company from nothing. 2 old Peterbilts, 1 tiny office, and no idea how to retire. We weren't rich, but we were steady. We split profits 60/40ths because I'd put up more of the startup money, and that was fine for years, until last fall. Last fall, I landed a big freight contract with a chain of grocery suppliers, a deal worth enough to keep us in business for a decade. I handled the negotiations myself. Roy had always been better with drivers than clients. After that, things changed. Roy got quiet. Nervous. Sometimes he'd mutter about how we were too exposed now. Too many eyes. I thought it was just nerves. Lucy didn't. She met Roy at the yard. Said he looked like hell. Said he tried too hard to be friendly, the kind of friendly that leaves you sweating after. She asked him where he was the day the gun was delivered. He said he didn't know what she was talking about. Wrong answer. She leaned in, told him the serial number on the pistol came from a stolen shipment 15 years ago. Warehouse theft, Chicago. Unsolved. Same warehouse Roy's cousin worked security at back then. Roy turned pale. He said he hadn't talked to that cousin in over a decade. Also the wrong answer. Still, Lucy didn't pounce. She just took notes, thanked him, and left. But when she called me later, her voice had that quiet heat I recognized too well. "He's hiding something," she said. "Roy?" I asked. "He's not a killer." "No," she agreed. "But he might be covering for one." The next day she started with our competitors. There was more motive there than I'd realized. The grocery contract we landed had been a bloodbath, 5 companies competing, 2 tried to undercut us by leaking fake incident reports to regulators. We found out. Reported them. They lost bids, clients, and reputations. Lucy drove down to McGregor Freight, the dirtiest of the bunch. She showed up unannounced, asked to speak to Mitch Greaves, the owner. He was the kind of guy who wears a Rolex and a ball cap like he's blue-collar, but everyone in town knows he hasn't driven a truck in 20 years. Mitch had threatened me once over that contract. Said, "Old men like you don't deserve a second act." Lucy said he smiled like he was chewing nails when she brought up my name. "You think I care if he goes down?" he asked. "Frank's always been lucky, not smart." She pushed. Asked if he'd ever heard of Deirdre Lane. Mitch blinked. Too fast to hide it. Said no. Lucy clocked it instantly. A flicker. A tell. "Never?" she asked. "Not even back when you were running cross-country out of Missouri?" He didn't answer. The interview ended soon after. She called me again that night. "The pattern's forming, Dad. I've got 4 threads, Roy's cousin and the stolen gun, McGregor's grudge, and now your fingerprints showing up too perfect. It's like someone set a trap and lured you into it." "I don't know how they'd even get my prints," I said. "Think hard. You ever own a Sig Sauer?" "Never. Closest I got was that old 38 I sold after your mother passed." "Then someone lifted them. From something you handled recently." "Wouldn't take much," I muttered. "If they had access to my house." Lucy paused. "You think someone was inside?" I didn't answer. The house hadn't felt off. But that's the thing about people getting too comfortable, you stop noticing the little things. A dish slightly moved. A drawer not quite closed. A lock that doesn't click the same way. That night in jail, I didn't sleep. Not because of the metal bed or the smell or the yelling from down the hall. I didn't sleep because for the first time, I realized someone out there didn't just want me gone, they wanted me buried. Not because of Deirdre. Not because of the past. Because I was standing in someone's way. Lucy didn't sleep for 3 nights. She dove into every scrap of documentation, every whisper of rivalry, every grudge that had ever brushed up against my name. She called it running the angles. I called it hell, but I trusted her. I had to. She was the only one out there who wasn't gunning for my throat or crossing her arms behind a badge. She started with Mitch Greaves. That bastard had been circling my business like a vulture for years. Back when I first opened Ryman Freight, Mitch tried to undercut me by offering drivers signing bonuses that were full of loopholes. One driver came back to me 2 weeks later, broke and angry. Mitch had clawed back the bonus through equipment rental fees. Lucy met Mitch again, this time under a different tone. She wore civilian clothes, let her badge stay zipped in her coat. She played it cool. Asked about the old days. "You remember a woman named Deirdre Lane?" she asked. Mitch gave her a half-laugh. "That old name again? Look, I barely knew her. I think she worked at some diner outside Tulsa. Or maybe Kansas City. It's been 40 years, lady." But Lucy knew better. He remembered her. He just didn't want to admit how well. She called me afterward. "He's lying, Dad. He knows Deirdre." I dug up a lease application from 1987, his name and hers were co-signers. I sat in the jail cell, cold seeping through the concrete. Roommates? Or something more? She followed the lead. The apartment had been in a no-name town off I-35. No one answered the phone at the leasing office, probably shut down years ago, but she found a neighbor who remembered them. "Oh yeah," the woman said over the phone. "Skinny guy with a loud mouth. He used to scream at her from the balcony. Called her names. Told her she owed him. Sometimes she'd disappear for a few days and come back with black eyes covered in makeup. That wasn't just a fling. That was control." Lucy cross-referenced every known address of Deirdre Lane between 1984 and 1995. Mitch Greaves appeared in her orbit more than once, Kansas, Missouri, even parts of Texas. But the police had never looked into him. Too focused on the easy mark, me. The more Lucy dug, the more names popped up. Another competitor, Gavin Rourke, owner of Seven Peaks Hauling, had filed a complaint against me last year with the Department of Transportation. Claimed I falsified safety inspections. It was garbage, and it didn't stick, but Lucy found emails between him and an anonymous sender, suggesting strategic ways to discredit my company. She traced the sender back to a burner account. Registered through a VPN. "No way to know who wrote it," she said, "but the writing style matches the email that sent you the tracking number for the package. The gun. The package. The frame job. It was all coming from somewhere deeper, smarter, someone who knew the business and knew how to hide their hands." Then came Roy. Lucy pressed harder. Took him out for coffee, said she just wanted to talk off the record. He squirmed. Said things like, "I didn't mean for it to get this far," and, "I just thought it was leverage." "Leverage for what?" Lucy asked. "To get out of the company clean," he said, eyes darting. Apparently, Roy had been sitting on debts for a while. Gambling mostly. A handful of bad stock picks, some shady investments in crypto he didn't understand. He thought if I went down, he could liquidate the company, take my half, and use it to crawl out of his hole. "But I didn't kill anyone," he swore. Lucy didn't believe him. Not entirely. But she believed he hadn't pulled the trigger. "He's a coward, Dad," she told me. "Not a killer. But he might have told someone where to hit you." She said that's when it clicked. Whoever framed me wasn't just trying to make me look guilty, they wanted me erased. Stripped from my life. My business. My family. Everything. And they were using Roy's desperation, Mitch's old scars, and Gavin's jealousy to stack the deck against me. Lucy said it was like watching someone set up dominoes and walk away before the first one even fell. But one piece was still missing. Deirdre. Why now? Why her? She'd lived quietly for years. Kept off the radar. No arrests, no enemies. According to what Lucy found, she'd been working part-time at a nursing home and living in a small apartment on the edge of town. Paid cash for everything. Didn't even have a cell phone. She was scared, Lucy said. Someone scared her into hiding. And then, after all that time, she was found dead. Shot clean. Dumped like trash. And somehow, someone thought I was the perfect fall guy. Lucy sent a request to access Deirdre's bank records. What came back was odd. Withdrawals in small amounts. Cash. Frequent. No pattern. But every few weeks, a large deposit, always from the same anonymous source. She traced the bank account. It belonged to a shell corporation. That, in turn, was linked to a consulting group that had contracts with both McGregor Freight and Seven Peaks Hauling. Lucy sat on that discovery for a while. Let it stew. Then she told me flatly over the jail phone, "Dad, this wasn't about old lovers or past mistakes. This was about pressure. Deirdre was being paid to keep quiet. About something big. Something tied to all of them. And when she stopped playing along, they made her disappear." I leaned into the receiver. "Then who the hell sent me the gun?" Lucy exhaled. That's what I'm about to find out. But if someone's smart enough to forge fingerprints, plant a stolen weapon, and time it for Father's Day, then they're not just trying to hurt you. They're sending a message. She nodded. Exactly. And I'm going to send one back. It was strange how a dead woman could suddenly occupy so much space in your mind. Deirdre Lane. She'd been nothing more than a few flickers of memory when this started: black curls, a waitress uniform, a pack of cools in her purse, laughter in the dark of a truck cab. But now, locked in a cell while my life unraveled, her name became the weight pressing down on my lungs every hour. Lucy couldn't shake her either. She started digging where the cops had stopped. Most investigators had treated Deirdre like background noise: no family listed, no criminal record, no enemies. Another transient life ending in silence. But Lucy knew better. People don't just disappear for decades unless they've got something, or someone, to hide from. She drove to the apartment complex where Deirdre had lived the last 5 years of her life. The manager barely remembered her. Kept to herself, he said, scratching his gut through a stretched polo. Paid cash, always early. Clean tenant. Never had guests. But she did have guests, Lucy said. He frowned. Well, yeah, there was one guy. Not a boyfriend. Didn't seem like it. More like, business, you know. What kind of business? The guy shrugged. He came every other week for a while. Looked intense. Maybe 35, 40. Thin. Shaved head, tattoo on his neck. That was new. No one in Deirdre's old files mentioned a regular visitor. Lucy asked for security footage. The manager laughed. You think we keep that long? We're not the CIA. But he gave her something better, a name. Mail carrier said the guy's name was Caleb. Overheard her call him that once. He always buzzed for apartment 4B. Lucy went straight to the post office. The carrier remembered him too. Big attitude. Always parked crooked. Never smiled. Didn't seem like family. Lucy ran the name through databases. Got nothing solid. No last name, no address. But she found traffic cam footage, cross-referenced license plate reads near Deirdre's address during the timeframe the manager gave. It led to a rental car. Rented under a fake name, but billed to a prepaid card bought in Cashville, Missouri, a truck stop she and I had once pulled into on a long haul back when she was 12, chasing lightning bugs and asking endless questions about the road. Lucy paused when she saw that detail. Dad, she said over the jail phone, this guy, Caleb, he's been following her for a long time. Longer than anyone knew. I frowned. But why? What does he want from her? I don't think it's what he wanted from her, Lucy said slowly. I think it's what he wanted about her. She went back to the apartment building, talked to a neighbor in 4C. A woman in her 70s with sharp eyes and sharper opinions. When Lucy mentioned Caleb, the woman winced. That man. Bad energy. Always looking around like someone was going to catch him. One time I heard them fighting. Real late. She yelled something about secrets and not going through this again. He left the next morning with a hole punched in her doorframe. That doorframe was still splintered when Lucy saw it. She ran her fingers over the jagged edge and thought of every case she'd worked where threats turned into actions, and nobody listened. Deirdre had tried to tell someone. Lucy followed the thread to the nursing home where Deirdre worked. It was clean, underfunded, and buzzing with too many fluorescent lights. One of the orderlies remembered Deirdre well. She kept her head down, but she was good with the residents. Knew how to calm them. Never asked for anything. Except once. Once? Lucy asked. She asked about security. Wanted to know if the cameras caught the parking lot. She said she'd been followed. Said her past was coming back. I told her to call the cops. She said that would just make it worse. Lucy looked at the timestamp. That conversation happened 3 weeks before Deirdre died. She was being hunted, Lucy told me that night. Not just watched. Not just threatened. Hunted. And they still think I killed her, I said. They don't think, she snapped. They assume. And whoever did this knew they would. She started digging into Deirdre's financials again. Found strange notes in her journal entries, little scribbles in margins. L. 1987, KST property, no signature. The handwriting was precise, like someone trying to remember breadcrumbs. Lucy compared it to an old warehouse property record she found buried in a state archive. A lease. Signed by Deirdre Lane. Next to another name, Franklin J. Ryman. I blinked when Lucy told me. That's not possible, I said. I never signed anything with her. Lucy zoomed in. It's your name. But not your writing. A forgery. 35 years old. Who benefits from that being real? Lucy asked. I knew. Someone wanted to tie me to Deirdre's finances. To make it look like we were more than a passing fling. Like I had reason to silence her. Lucy's voice cracked then, the way it only ever did when she was a kid and couldn't solve a puzzle. Dad, I think someone's using her death to finish a game that started decades ago. And you're the pawn. That night, she called in a favor to run DNA on some of Deirdre's belongings. A toothbrush from her apartment. A hairbrush from a box in storage. She didn't tell me why until the results came in. And when they did, she said just one word. Dad, we need to talk. When Lucy called me that morning, her voice sounded different, like it was holding something back, something sharp. We need to talk, she said. And I need you to listen before you say anything. I leaned into the jail phone, my hand tightening around the plastic receiver. All right. She took a breath. The DNA results came back. From Deirdre's apartment. Okay. They matched. To who? There was a pause. To you, Dad. My pulse dropped. For a second, I didn't speak. Didn't breathe. That doesn't make any sense, I whispered. I haven't been near that woman in over 30 years. Lucy was quiet for a beat. I know. Which is why I double-checked the source. The toothbrush and hairbrush were hers. The DNA matched both. But there was another sample. A secondary one. Male. Partial match to you. Strong enough to be immediate family. What are you saying? I'm saying, she exhaled, Deirdre had a son. The air in my lungs turned cold. No record of birth, Lucy continued, her voice now in full detective mode. No hospital file under her name. But I found a private clinic in Tulsa, one that operated under the radar back in the 80s. They did off-the-books deliveries. The nurse who ran it passed away in '99, but the storage record survived. One entry from May 1987, Lane, D., male infant. I leaned against the concrete wall, my legs threatening to buckle. I never knew. I believe you, she said. But he knew about you. I felt like the floor dropped from under me. All this time, he's been out there. Lucy nodded. And I think he's the one who killed her. The silence between us stretched like a wound. I didn't know how to respond. A son I never knew. A woman I barely remembered. A murder I was framed for. It was like pieces of my life I'd never even owned had come back to destroy me. He's the man the neighbor saw, Lucy continued. The one with the shaved head and neck tattoo. I had a sketch made based on multiple sightings. I ran it through facial recognition. I got a hit, Caleb Drexler. Arrested in Phoenix 6 years ago for assault. No listed parents. Foster homes. In and out of juvie. My heart kicked against my ribs. She was still talking, voice steady like she was briefing a jury. He's been using fake names, but the pattern's there. Every address ties back to Deirdre, or places she's lived. Every job he held lasted only weeks. Then he'd vanish. Always cash. Always off-grid. And now? I asked, barely able to speak. Now he's gone dark again. But here's the thing, every time Deirdre received those strange bank deposits, there were also withdrawals. And they didn't go to her. They went to a separate account. Set up in the name of Caleb's first known alias, Jeremiah Black. Money laundering? I asked. No, Lucy said. Extortion. She showed me the account activity. Anonymous deposits. Transfers to an LLC. Then that LLC sent payments back out, small sums, broken into pieces, wired into dozens of different cards. But one transaction stood out. 2 weeks before Deirdre's death, $25,000 was withdrawn in cash. After that, the account went dead. That's the payoff, she said. She either paid him to stay away, or he took what he needed and silenced her. Maybe both. I stared at the floor of the jail like it might open up and swallow me whole. He's my son. I asked again. He shares half your DNA, Lucy said, carefully avoiding the word. And he's framing me for murder. Yes, she said. She was right. Of course she was right. The gun. The perfect setup. The connection to Deirdre. It wasn't just business revenge or some calculated frame job by a competitor. This was personal. He knew about me, I said. But he didn't come looking for answers. He came looking for punishment. Lucy nodded. And he's not done. She had traced one more lead, an abandoned storage unit under one of Caleb's alias names. The rental company had flagged it for non-payment. Lucy used a forged subpoena to access it before it could be cleaned out. Inside she found receipts. Notes. Newspaper clippings. One drawer was full of photos, of me. Outside my house. At the truck yard. At a diner. He's been watching you for months, Lucy said. He's been building a case, I murmured. Piece by piece. And then I said something I hadn't admitted until that moment, he's good. He knows what he's doing. Lucy paused. I think he learned it from watching you. From reading about you. From Deirdre, maybe. He knew how to make it believable. But not perfect. You found the cracks, I said. Yeah, she whispered. But he's smart, Dad. He's not going to stop here. If I'm right, he's already working on the next part. What's that? Insurance, she said. She showed me a screenshot from a burner phone Caleb used, one message, sent from a ghost number. This is just the beginning. If the old man doesn't go down, the girl does next. My stomach clenched. You, I said. He means you. She nodded slowly. Then she said the words that froze my blood solid. He's coming for me now. I didn't sleep after Lucy told me. Not because of the threat, though that was bad enough, but because my mind couldn't settle on what haunted me more, the idea that someone was trying to destroy me, or the truth that he might have every reason to. A son. I had a son. I never knew his name, never saw his face, never bought him a birthday gift or taught him to ride a bike. I didn't know if he had my eyes or my temper or if he even liked the same kind of coffee I did. I had nothing. But he had me. He had studied me. Hunted me. Built a plan so precise it nearly worked. And now he was threatening Lucy, the one good thing I'd built in this life that hadn't slipped through my fingers. The guilt burned hotter than the fear. Lucy came back to the jail the next morning, eyes red but jaw set like stone. She'd been up all night reviewing surveillance footage, tracing emails, pulling favors from friends in cybercrime. She slid into the plastic chair across from me and didn't wait for small talk. I pulled Caleb's foster records. I just nodded. I didn't want to hear them, but I needed to. He was placed in state care 2 weeks after Deirdre gave birth. She listed no father. No emergency contacts. His file reads like a prison pipeline: neglect, abandonment, fights, 3 failed placements before age 10. By 15, he'd been through 6 homes. I closed my eyes. Jesus. She tried to raise him, Dad. For about 2 years. Then she dropped him off at a church and never came back. Why? I asked, almost afraid to hear it. Lucy set her hands flat on the table. I think she was protecting herself. Or hiding him from you. Or both. There's a note in his file, scribbled in a corner: Father would kill me if he knew. I blinked. Me? I said. She thought I'd. I don't think she meant physically, Dad. I think she meant emotionally. She didn't want to blow up your life. You were married. You had just gotten your Class A license. You were starting over. She didn't want to be the reason you lost it. But in doing that, I whispered, she built a secret so big it raised a monster. Lucy looked down at her notepad. He wasn't born angry. He was made. She showed me the photos next. All printed on cheap paper, grainy and hard to look at: Caleb sitting alone at a foster home table, Caleb with a black eye, Caleb at 14 being escorted by 2 cops after stealing food from a gas station. They painted a picture that broke every part of me I thought had gone numb. He wanted a father, Lucy said. And he got silence. He wanted revenge, I muttered. And he got precision. She nodded. Any idea where he is now? I asked. Working on it. He ditched his rental 2 days ago and bought a beat-up Chrysler under a fake ID. But we pinged his phone 3 counties over. I've got a team watching your house and another tracking the car. You think he's coming to you directly? No, she said. I think he's circling. I think he's watching to see if the system folds. He wants you charged. That's his victory. If that doesn't work, I'm plan B. I'm not letting that happen. Her voice softened, but her spine stayed straight. You're not in a position to stop him, Dad. I looked away. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. But I am. For a moment, I felt something close to peace. Then she pulled back and said, there's one more thing. She laid out a single-page document. Hospital records. Blood type comparisons. Parental markers. Are you absolutely sure you only saw Deirdre for a few weeks? Yes, I said. I was in Missouri hauling copper for Hutchins Freight. We stopped at the same diner 3 times. I slept in her trailer twice. That was it. Lucy tapped the paper. DNA says otherwise. You're not just a match, you're the match. Paternity's nearly conclusive. I let the words hang between us. Then, so that's it. I fathered a killer. No, she said firmly. You fathered a boy. What he became wasn't your doing. That's not how he sees it. No, Lucy said, standing, but we're done letting him write the story. She left the room, and I sat in that cheap metal chair for a long time, staring at the blank wall. The funny thing about blood? It means everything and nothing. I had a son. And he had become my executioner. But if he wanted this story to end with my ruin, he'd picked the wrong man. Because I might have missed the beginning, but I damn sure wouldn't let him dictate the ending. 3 days later, he called. It was 2:14 in the morning, and I was half asleep in a cot inside the county holding cell, dreaming of younger days on the road, when the guard banged on the bars and told me I had a phone call. Lawyer? I asked. No, he said. Said his name is Caleb. Everything inside me turned to concrete. They walked me to the secure line, chained my wrist to the table like I was about to confess to a bombing, and handed me the phone. I brought the receiver to my ear slowly. Yeah. Hello, Frank. His voice was deeper than I expected. Controlled. No trace of hesitation. Just a current of simmering hate, barely disguised as calm. It sounded like me, if I'd grown up with broken ribs and no help. You're real, I said. So are prison cells, he replied. I didn't answer. I wanted to talk, he said. Before the next part starts. What part is that? The part where you lose everything. I gripped the phone harder. Is this what you want? I asked. To take down a man you've never met over choices he never made? He laughed. Not cruelly. Just tired. Like the punchline was 30 years late. You made choices the day you walked away from my mother. I didn't walk away. I didn't even know. I know, he snapped. You didn't know. And she made sure of that. But I did. I knew. From the time I was 9 and she got drunk and sobbed on the kitchen floor about a driver who didn't even remember her name. I closed my eyes. She told me just enough to hate you, he said. And then she left. And all I had left was that hate. You killed her, I whispered. She killed herself the moment she gave me away. I just ended it. My stomach churned, but I stayed silent. She was a shadow by the time I got to her, he continued. Living in a hole, trembling every time I asked about you. She said you were better left in the past. Like I was a mistake. You weren't. He chuckled. That's sweet. But a little late. I leaned forward. Why the setup? The gun, the prints, the Father's Day label, was that all just to make a point? No, he said flatly. That was step 1. Step 2 comes now. What's step 2? Your house, he said. The one on Pine Ridge. The deed's in your name, but your retirement savings. I know where you moved it. I know the lawyer who helped you set up the revocable trust. I have access. You're bluffing. I'm done bluffing, he growled. This is the offer, sign over the deed to the Pine Ridge property. In exchange, I'll disappear. I won't release the second gun. I blinked. What second gun? Oh, he said, satisfied, you thought it was just the one. I have another. Same model. Different serial. Also stolen. Also wiped. And guess what? It has your prints too, fresh this time. I used the same gloves you wore when they booked you. My blood ran cold. I plant that gun with a new body, he said. You won't walk out. Even with your daughter chasing ghosts. You don't want a house, I said, barely holding the tremble out of my voice. You want to win. I want what I was never given, he said. A legacy. Something to take. Something that says I mattered. There it was. Not justice. Not closure. Just ownership. Why not come see me? I asked. Why not look me in the eye? I have. 4 months. You mow your lawn Tuesdays at 6 p.m. You hum classic rock while you scrub the grill. You stand in line at the hardware store like you're not walking on a trail of broken glass. I gritted my teeth. You don't know me. I know enough, he hissed. And now you get to make a choice, sign the house over to the name I'll send you in the morning, or rot in here while they dig up the second setup. I heard the click before I could answer. He hung up. Lucy arrived at the jail 6 hours later, eyes burning from lack of sleep, laptop in hand. He called me too, she said before I could speak. Burner number. Same threat. He wants the house, I said. I know. And I also know this isn't about the property. It's about the power. Exactly. I told her about the second gun. About the threats. About the timing. Lucy stared into the distance for a full minute. Then she turned to me, voice low. Let's give him what he wants. What? Let's sign the deed over. No way. It's bait, she said. We play along. Track the transaction. Catch him in the handoff. If we stall too long, he drops the hammer. If we bite, he thinks he's winning. And if he's not bluffing? I asked. If that second gun shows up. Then I'll handle it, she said. But we need the upper hand. And right now, we don't have it. My gut screamed against it. But the other option, sitting in this cell while my daughter got hunted, was worse. Okay, I said finally. Let's give him the damn house. She nodded, already dialing a number. But as she worked, I watched her face, steady, calculating, coiled like a loaded spring. This wasn't surrender. This was strategy. And if Caleb thought we were handing him a victory, he had no idea what storm he'd just stepped into. The thing about letting go of something you built with your bare hands is, it never feels like strategy. It feels like defeat. Signing over the house felt like cutting off a limb. That place wasn't just walls and bricks. It was where Martha and I raised Lucy, where we buried our dog in the back garden, where I planted the pear tree that never bore fruit but kept growing anyway. A dumb symbol, but I clung to it all the same. Lucy handled the paperwork, backdated the trust, and set up the shell transfer to a holding company under the name Atlas Horizon, just like Caleb instructed. She uploaded the file to the portal he provided. No direct contact. No calls. No threats. Just cold, digital confirmation. And then we waited. By law, the deed would transfer in 72 hours. Plenty of time for Caleb to make his move. But Lucy had other plans. She had filed a warrant, sealed, discreet, and only shared with a judge she trusted from a previous case. That warrant gave her access to a listening device embedded in the burner phone she traced to Caleb's last location. He didn't know we were listening. And I didn't know what Lucy was planning. Until the house burned. I saw it on the news. The county jail had a wall-mounted TV in the break room where they let us eat lunch if we behaved. And there it was, my house. Flames licking up from the porch to the second floor, smoke curling into the sky like a hand waving goodbye. Fire crews arrived too late to save most of the structure, the reporter said. Investigators say the blaze began near the gas line beneath the back deck. Arson is suspected. Arson. It wasn't a gas leak. It wasn't an accident. I stared at the screen until my tray slipped from my hands and clattered to the floor. Lucy was already in the visitation room when they pulled me out of holding. Tell me you didn't, I started. I did, she said. I torched it. I leaned over the table, stunned. That house was everything we had left. No, she said, eyes locked onto mine, voice like steel. You were everything I had left. That house was a pawn on a board Caleb thought he controlled. So I took it off the damn board. Jesus, Lucy. She shrugged. You taught me to finish a fight. And what now? Now, she said, sliding a flash drive across the table, we end it. She hit play on a laptop she'd smuggled in. A recording started. It was Caleb. The voice we both knew too well by now. Except this time, it wasn't calm. It wasn't strategic. It was furious. He burned it, he screamed. The whole thing. That stupid old bastard torched his own house. There was a pause. Footsteps. Then, no, I don't give a shit. That deed was mine. That was payment. You know how long I worked to make this clean. The voice trembled. Not from fear. From unraveling. I did everything right. The gun, the box, the fingerprints. I made it all fit. The cops believed it. That idiot judge had his signature lined up before I even made the call. I deserve that house. I deserve all of it. Then the final line. She lied to me. My mother. That whore. Said it wasn't his fault. Said I should let it go. But she didn't get to walk away. And neither does he. Lucy hit pause. That's confession, she said. I swallowed the lump in my throat. It's fury. It's motive, she corrected. It's intent. It's personal. And it's admissible. I stared at her. You baited him. She nodded. He thought you cracked. He thought you gave in. But when you took the only thing he believed he could steal from you, he exposed himself. Where is he now? She clicked open another screen. Tracked him leaving a storage unit near the city limits. He went back after the house burned, probably to grab whatever evidence he hadn't planted yet. We got him on camera. License plate, timestamp, everything. And we're picking him up now. I sat back, heart pounding, a tidal wave of relief and dread washing through me. What happens next? I asked. She took my hand. You get your life back. That afternoon, they processed the release. The evidence collapsed like paper in water. Gun 1. Tainted chain of custody. Gun 2. Never surfaced. The digital trail Caleb had built was clever, brilliant, even, but it couldn't outpace Lucy once she had a target. And now Caleb was in custody. He refused to speak at first. Sat silent in the interrogation room for 6 hours. But they played him the tape. They laid out every move he'd made. And when they showed him the picture of my burned house, his face cracked. He shouted. Cursed. Called it theft. They called it a confession. I didn't see him. Didn't want to. Lucy asked if I did. Said I had the right. But I knew myself too well. I didn't want to look in his eyes and see my own fury reflected back at me. He wasn't a son anymore. He was just the ghost of a decision I never knew I made. That night, I stood in front of the ruins of my home. The fire had left behind bones, chimney, partial frame, a blackened outline of the front steps. The pear tree survived. Go figure. Lucy stood beside me, silent. After a while, she said, "You okay?" "No," I said. "But I'm not broken either." She nodded. Neither of us said it, but we both knew, Caleb had taken a lot. But not everything. And not forever. They say justice is blind. Maybe. But I've learned it's not free. The charges against me were formally dropped 6 days after Caleb's arrest. No press conference. No apology. Just a line in a court docket and a phone call from a district attorney's office that suddenly couldn't speak fast enough to explain how additional evidence had recontextualized the investigation. Lucy stood beside me when I walked out of the county jail. The air hit different. Not freer exactly, just less stale. More honest. I kept the car running, she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. We didn't talk much that first hour. Just sat in the hum of the engine, driving toward nowhere. It wasn't until we reached the overlook by Old Creek Pass, where she used to ride her bike as a kid, that either of us broke the silence. He's not sorry, she said. Caleb? She nodded. Didn't say a word in the interviews. Just kept his arms crossed, staring at the wall like he'd already decided we weren't real. Like we were props in a play he'd already written the ending for. I nodded slowly. What happens now? He's being held without bail, she said. Facing murder, fraud, obstruction, attempted extortion. They've got him on tape. Timeline fits. Forensics line up. The feds are even sniffing around because of the stolen firearms angle. And if he pleads insanity? Then I'll testify he's the most calculated bastard I've ever met. We sat a while longer, watching the valley turn gold in the late afternoon. Are you okay? She asked finally. I didn't answer right away. How do you answer that? Am I okay? I'm free. But my name still feels dirted, like something that'll never wash clean. I'm alive. But every time I close my eyes, I see the face of a man I never met until he tried to destroy me, and he has my jawline. My ears. My damn stubborn stare. I lost my house. I lost months of peace. I almost lost Lucy. So no, I'm not okay. But I'm surviving. We drove back into town that night, and for the first time in a long while, I walked into my office like I belonged there. Roy was gone. He'd fled after the house fire, his conscience cracking under the weight of what he'd allowed to happen. Lucy said he'd taken a plea deal for obstruction. 5 years probation, barred from running any logistics company again. Fair trade, I suppose. I sold the business 2 weeks later. Didn't want it anymore. I didn't want the long nights of scheduling routes, the hiss of brake lines in the yard, the smell of diesel in my clothes. That life had been good to me once, but it was poisoned now. Every corner of it carried the echo of betrayal. I used the payout to buy a small cottage near the coast. Not fancy. Not loud. Just quiet. I wake up early now, same as always, but instead of coffee in the kitchen I sip it on the porch, watching the waves pull at the rocks like they're trying to undo time. I don't talk much anymore. Not because I'm angry, but because I've run out of words I haven't already said. Sometimes Lucy visits. She brings files from her job or groceries I didn't ask for. We don't talk about Caleb anymore. She testified. He was convicted. The sentence was life. No parole. No chance of appeal. His outburst during the hearing sealed it. But there's a piece of me that still feels unfinished. Not guilty. Not mourning. Just raw. Like someone carved out a chunk of my past and used it as a weapon against me. I think about Deirdre sometimes. What she could have been. What she tried to hide. The guilt she swallowed until it turned into silence. I don't blame her. Not anymore. She was scared. Alone. Trapped in the margins of a life she didn't choose. I think she tried to protect both of us. She just didn't know how. As for Caleb, I won't pretend I forgive him. That would be a lie. But I do understand him. And maybe that's worse. Because I see pieces of myself in him, the fire, the stubbornness, the desire to make someone feel what you felt. I just had Lucy to anchor me. He had no one. And when you grow up untethered, revenge becomes gravity. In the end, justice was served. But it came at a cost. I lost a house, a friend, a part of my history. I gained knowledge I never wanted and scars no one can see. But I'm still standing. And that has to be enough. I don't know how much time I have left. 62 isn't old, but it isn't young either. My back aches in the morning. My hands cramp if I write too long. But I still take walks. Still fix things that don't need fixing. Still listen to old records and remember when Martha used to dance to them in the living room. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes the past doesn't knock, it breaks down your door. And when it does, you either collapse under the weight of it. Or you pick up the pieces, one jagged shard at a time, and build something new. I'm still building. Still breathing. Still here. And for now, that's enough.